Welcome to the Low Tox Life podcast.
The rising and setting of the sun is a beautiful relationship of safety. It will rise no matter what happened yesterday. The ground will be beneath your feet no matter what you did 10 years ago, right? It is an unconditional relationship of safety. And I think a lot of us are missing that, especially nowadays where the information that we're inundated with is not safe at all.
Thank you for joining me on the show this week. I have Dr. Catherine Clinton back with us. She is an incredible force of literally nature because she teaches us to understand on a very deep scientific level the magic that nature provides us in our everyday, in our most accessible health practices, that if we prioritize them, some truly incredible things can happen. However, in the context of the modern world, we need to understand them better and understand what that means and looks like so that we can make the most of our light and water in our daily lives. I know it sounds like, yeah, light and water, I know that. Trust me when I say you will be blown away by how much more magical and more clear these basics become at the end of this time. I'm going to jump to our wonderful podcast partners and then we'll head straight in. Thanks for joining me, and I always appreciate it when you leave a review, subscribe or share an episode, because that's how we get small independent podcasts like mine out into the world with these incredible guests giving their time and over a decade of interviewing experience. So I don't let people leave stones unturned. Enjoy. OzClimate have been supporting your journey to the healthiest home possible for years. My favourite two types of appliances they have are the Winix Air Purifier range and the dehumidifier range because, of course, moisture can happen to any home at any time. So we always want to make sure we're using climate gauges to assess whether we have too much humidity in our homes. And when it does go over that 60% mark and is staying over 60% persistently, either because it's raining or it's a humid season, all you need to do is know how to use dehumidifiers. This is something I have spent a lot of time educating on, and if you head to the @LowToxLife Instagram, you'll see there's a whole chunk of tiles on the feed with a white background. I did a 10-part series to step you through all the reasons that you need a dehumidifier and how to actually use it, what size you might need, what kind of situation you might need based on different types of floor plans. So I'm starting there because here in Australia, it is a more humid time of the year. So thrilled to have OzClimate supporting our low tox community, the Australians only, for the whole year of 2026. Use the Low Tox Life code at checkout. 10% off your order, even often if things are on sale. Enjoy.
I'm doing well. I'm excited to talk with you today.
So happy to have you back on the show. The first time we spoke, we talked a lot about sound healing, coherence, and those are actually features in your new book, Optimize, which coincidentally is one of my favorite words in the English language. But I didn't want to go and revisit and talk about the 7 chapters and all that jazz. There were 2 chapters that really got my curiosity, and they were the ones on hydration and on tending to our liquid crystals. Now, full disclosure, I have not gotten my hands on your book yet. So we're in Australia, we're a bit behind, but a lot of listeners are going to be able to get this now. Can we talk about those 2 aspects? And I guess before that, that's what's coming, guys. But before that, how on earth did you organize yourself into 7 chapters with the breadth of experience, work, research that you've done? I know you've got 60 reference pages of research at the end. It's enormous.
Yeah, and my editor was great. So
Mm.
the publishing house that I signed with, the editor was like, the original draft was like, back and forth and
Okay,
here and there.
it's
They
a
were like,
start.
yeah, let's rein this in a little
Mhm.
bit. So
Yeah,
I
I
had
know that
help.
feeling. Mm.
That's
Nice.
kind of how my brain works, here and there and everywhere.
Well, I think you've just got to get it all out, right? If you're the ideas and deep diver person, then it's just got to be out and then it can get organized by the people who are good at organizing. It's not usually the same person.
Yeah. Yeah.
Mm.
Yeah, they were great. And when I teach about it, I have the pillars of quantum biology that I teach about: light, water, bioelectricity, frequency, information, our thoughts and emotions, sound. So I had a basic idea, but they really helped kind of make it digestible and easy to work through.
And when it comes to a topic like hydration, a lot of people, there are huge trends right now, like electrolytes are exploding. Now, I found electrolytes especially helpful during mold illness. I also find them especially helpful during tennis because you sweat a shed ton. But it feels like everyone thinks they have to have them to be healthy now. And I want to take a step way, way back and actually help us deeply understand what hydration looks like in the body beyond what we think hydration is, which is drinking a glass of water or having some electrolytes.
Yeah, that's a great place to start because that is what a lot of people think. Hydration is the water that we drink, and really, it's so much more than that. When we're talking about water in the body, it takes on a different organization. So we have our cell membranes, our fascia, mitochondria, tissue. All of these things are water loving, meaning they don't push the water away. The water can come right up to the surface of the cell. And when it does, something incredible happens. It takes on a different organization. It's more gel-like, it's more viscous. We are water beings. By weight, we're 60 to 70% water. Molecularly, if we were to line up all the molecules in the body, because the water molecule is so small, we're over 98% water. And that water takes on different forms in the body. And when it comes up against the cell membrane, it changes organization. And this is the pioneering work of Gerald Pollack out of the University of Washington, but many water researchers in this field around the world are really adding to this emerging understanding of this different structure of water in the body. Some people call it EZ water, structured water, coherent water, interfacial water along the surfaces. But really, it's talking about this different structure of water that holds an electrical charge. Now, our cells run on electrical charge. And you mentioned just a minute ago how you found hydration very helpful during mold disease. Well, our mast cells that release histamine, that are so activated in mold illness, they are really triggered by dehydration. That is a massive trigger to the release of histamine. So our hydration plays right into that. And it's that cellular hydration. It's that organized liquid crystalline water that's right against the cell that gives it that negative electrical charge. And what's interesting is this water, as one sheet of it forms, and Professor Pollack proposes that it takes on a lattice formation, like a hexagonal lattice, like a honeycomb. And so as the hydrogens line up to form this lattice, as one sheet of this water forms against a cell membrane, it acts as a template for more sheets to form. And as it builds, it generates this negative electrical charge, but it also pushes out a hydrogen. And that positively charged hydrogen or proton creates what researchers are calling a proton wire or a proton rich zone. And that separation of charge between the negatively charged water and the positively charged water that forms right outside of it is the same separation of charge we would see in a 9-volt battery, right? That potential energy that's
Yeah.
formed by that separation of charge is what is forming in the body, and it creates this potential reservoir of energy for the body to use. And I think we're looking at a few things, hydration just being so foundational for function. If our proteins aren't hydrated, they can't fold and bend. And that's where cellular action comes from, right? It comes from the conformation, the configuration, the structure and shape of a protein. And the protein will change its shape depending on what that cell should be doing. If it's not hydrated, it can't do that. And that extension of our understanding of hydration into this liquid crystalline water that holds an electrical charge that's so necessary for our cells, and then also builds this water battery of potential energy. We really start looking at the body in a different understanding, in a bioelectrical understanding. I mean, we understand the body in a chemical understanding, right? We eat food, supplements, pharmaceuticals, they diffuse throughout the body, they work with different receptors. We understand the body in a mechanical way, right?
Yeah.
Our elbows connect our arms, and we're mechanical beings. But this idea that the body is bioelectric is really starting to flood into mainstream science and medicine as well, because the body is electric. That negative charge is so foundational. And when we lose that negative charge, we start to see hyper reactive immune systems. We start to see autoimmune cascades. And this is the work of Michael Levin and many different researchers in the field, looking at how important it is to view the body in an expanded understanding that it's also electric as well. There's this energetic perspective.
Yeah. And it's so interesting, isn't it? Because what you're
Mhm.
showing us there is this marriage between chemistry and physics, this marriage
Mhm.
between water and electricity that's going on inside us. And yet, outside us, if we enter as humans into a water and electricity situation, it's fatal. I just
Right,
find that really bizarre.
right.
Like it's
Let's
quite
make
hard
that
to get your
clear.
head around, right?
Yeah. Yeah,
Hmm.
absolutely. But it's so foundational for our health. For example,
Mm.
Michael Levin out of Tufts University here in the States, he's prolific. He publishes like 30, 40 research papers each year. And he's been looking at this bioelectric view of the body. And one of the areas of research he does is in cancer cells. And he's found that when you decrease that negative electrical charge of the cell, it starts rapidly dividing and acting like a cancer cell. And then when you bring that electrical charge back to that original level, that goes away. It just starts acting like a normal cell again. It's absolutely incredible.
So, can we hypothesize that hydration is a key part of slowing cancer cell replication, like
We
deep cellular hydration?
There is emerging again research, and this is an area, especially in the water sciences, that is extremely underfunded.
Mm.
So, it's slow to get the research in because there isn't a lot of funding for it, honestly. But what we do see is the comparison of pathological cancerous cells and healthy cells. We see the difference between the water, the state of water between those two cells. We see the healthy one has more of this organized liquid crystal structured water, where the other cell, the cancerous cell, has more bulk water. And so researchers are absolutely hypothesizing that this state of hydration is particularly important to maintaining healthy cells and function in the body. And I just can't wait for more research to bring this forward so that we have a full understanding. But it makes absolute sense with all the research we have about bioelectrics and the vital electrical charge of a cell. And then couple that with the water research, it's looking really promising. Mhm.
So let's walk it back to what some of the daily life basics might look like. We wake up. What does hydrating after a big sleep look like?
Yeah, absolutely. Well, I didn't mention what builds this water inside the body.
Okay, we can
And
do
that's
that. Let's do
and
that.
that's infrared energy, which goes to your
Mm,
question, right? So
mm,
a lot of us don't realize that going outside and getting morning sun, anytime we go outside, even I'm here in the Pacific Northwest and it's just cloudy for days on end in the winter. You can't see the sun. It's not what we'd call pleasant, but there's still an abundance of infrared energy that passes through the clouds. It is in abundance anytime we're outside. We are surrounded by infrared energy. And so that is a great input for that water and for our mitochondria. So, yes, we want to be hydrated, right? Drinking water that has some kind of mineral content, just basic osmosis, right? That water will follow those minerals, that will come more intercellular. We know that that's more hydrating. Having that foundation of hydration and then building that organized water in the body is so important. And as this research emerges, it's really, I think it's important to note that yes, this is emerging research, but the side effects of what we're talking about are beneficial, right? So even if we find out, okay, we made a mistake, this doesn't exist, which I mean, we're talking about tons and tons of research that
yeah,
says it
there's a
does.
lot. There's a reason you
Yeah,
got 60 pages of references in that book.
yeah, but let's say
Yeah.
it doesn't. Let's say we find out something different that negates it. The downsides of going outside in the morning and setting our circadian rhythm, the downside of moving our body to get infrared energy, the downside of hydrating with a mineral-rich water, those are beneficial side effects, right? We're not talking about
There are
something,
no downsides.
yeah, yeah,
Mm, yeah. Yeah.
yeah.
And
So,
so what
yeah.
we've explained there is we need a cocktail. We need the drinking part, and
Mhm.
that's the chemistry. And then we need the physics, which is the rays. Even if we
Yeah.
can't see a physical sun, doesn't matter. We're getting the rays. That's why you can get sunburnt on a cloudy day, right? If you stay out too long. Mm,
Yeah, yeah, there's a full spectrum of light. Anytime we go outside, the visible, ultraviolet A and B, depending on the year. There's no ultraviolet B where I am right now, but
yeah.
and infrared energy. Infrared energy penetrates, it actually penetrates, we now know from really recent research through the body. So it can penetrate much deeper than that ultraviolet light that we're so accustomed to thinking about and associating with the outside. But nature is an incredible tonic for the body.
And because you've mentioned the infrared, obviously that brings up devices, and people are
Mhm.
always curious about those.
Yes.
So that means it's not gimmicky to get those infrared, kind of like strap it on and it's good for your joints, or do the face thing and improve your rosacea, acne, wrinkles, whatever, or use a panel after exercise. Those are good. It's not just sales and marketing.
Nope, it's not just a trend. There are
Mm,
thousands of research studies out there looking at the benefits of infrared devices. Usually they're paired, right? They're paired. Red light and infrared light are usually
yeah.
paired in a device. And we're talking about 670 nanometers to 850 nanometers. And nanometers are the wavelength of light. And
Hmm.
that refers to red light and infrared light. And yes, they are very beneficial because what they're doing is they're supporting mitochondrial health. And mitochondria are those little small organelles in our cells that create cellular energy. They create ATP. But a lot of people don't realize that they also create water. The step right before ATP is created in the electron transport chain within a mitochondrion creates water. So you have water created and then ATP created. And this is the impact that red and infrared light is having on our body. So anytime we're supporting our mitochondria, we're also supporting our hydration.
Yeah, that's For me, that has landed in a way I don't think has been so clear before. Is that the physics, the waves, the rays, the light going in is actually also contributing to hydration, not just mitochondrial health, which is kind of usually the strap line that's used around that. So that's so powerful because it really shows us scientifically why get outside and feel the beautiful fresh surrounds in a park, on a beach, in a forest. It's not woo woo and it's not a nice to have. It's actually a critical part of your health plan.
Yeah, absolutely. And there's so much packed in there, right? There's
Mm,
the light, there's the sights and the sounds. We know that looking at a natural setting, even if we don't have nature, so to speak, even if we're not in a park or a nature setting, just having that horizon for our
yeah.
eyes to go out to, right? We're usually on screens looking in very close proximity, and that far tangential gazing that we can do is so supportive of our nervous system. The sounds that we hear, bird
Mm,
song, breeze through the tree leaves. All of these things are very soothing to our nervous system and balancing in a day and age where a lot of us are running in that sympathetic fight, flight, chronic stress mode. And going outside is just a wonderful, richly packed system of signals, really, right? Light and sound and sight. The air is usually densely packed with negative ions, which can be great for our mitochondria, our nervous system, our immune system. So there's so many things held.
I mean,
Yeah,
I'm thinking about the time I interviewed an ecologist who talked about the science around being in nature and a sense of productivity and purpose in your work. And the correlation there was massive. I talked with a wonderful researcher recently, Jody Wilson, who had interviewed a professor in California about soft fascination versus hard fascination screens and like exciting, stimulating stuff. And soft fascination is a cup of tea and just watching the leaves blow on a tree, and how crazy powerful it is for your sense of creativity and clarity. And and then we go into breathing, microbiome, and talking about getting outside there. It's like you say, this is literally a multi tasking approach to healthcare,
yeah,
just going out.
absolutely.
Mm,
Absolutely. And I think, you know, we're sort of at this point where the domestication of the human body, mind,
mm.
spirit is really sort of at the root of this chronic disease epidemic that we're experiencing. And a simple step we can take is literally the step outside of our house, right? Outside of our office, just returning to that relationship with nature.
I feel like the domestication of women and girls in particular, like stay
Mhm,
home, be here, be inside, look
mhm,
after us, do what we say. I feel like
mhm.
there's a real energy of, no, I want to get outside. I want to be wild. I want to be me. I'm feeling that from a lot of girlfriends and their young daughters as well now. And I feel like the invitation through health and just how powerful that is also helps us stay in touch with who we are, right?
Absolutely. I think that's a beautiful way to put that because I think many of us are feeling that yearning
Mm,
for more and also this momentum that's picking up. You know, we were speaking before recording that there is a lot of dissatisfaction all the way up to rage, right? About
it's a
what
spectrum.
yes, yes. About what's happening currently. And and being able to be in a space where we can access not only all these things we're talking about, health benefits and creativity, but also that rewilding of the self and a cultivation of safety that can happen. You know, the rising and setting of the sun is a beautiful relationship of safety. It will rise no matter what happened yesterday. The ground will be beneath your feet no matter what you did 10 years ago, right? It is an unconditional relationship of safety. And I think a lot of us are missing that, especially nowadays where the information that we're inundated with is not safe at all. Mhm. Yeah.
Okay, so from from water as it relates to light, I think we're clear now. I think we're good, and then we can go deeper in the book. Um, Liquid crystal signaling. I feel like it's kind of a we're moving just to the side. It's not obviously
Yeah.
completely different, but I hadn't heard those three words before together in relation to us optimizing our health. So can you help us unpack what that means and some of the things that we can learn about in that?
I'd love to. I love this perspective of the body because, when I was in naturopathic medical school, it was the body as a machine with different gears, cadaver lab. It was like how things fit together. This does that. Very mechanical. This understanding of a liquid crystalline network in the body expands our understanding to this energetic realm. And literally I mean energy, right? I mean the flow of electrons, the flow of protons, the flow of energy in the body, electricity in the body. And what we see is that the water we just talked about, the water that lines these liquid crystal structures in the body, is also part of it. But the structures themselves, like our DNA, our cell membranes, our fascia, these are all liquid crystalline in nature. They are responsive to these waves of information and energy. When we're talking about a quantum biology approach to health, we're talking about how the body responds to all these unseen waves of information in our environment. Light, the infrared light we just talked about, you can't see that, right? So, light, sound, electromagnetic frequencies, magnetic and electrical fields, scalar fields, our thoughts and emotions, all of these things have a direct impact on the body, and they do it through these liquid crystalline structures. So, what am I talking about with a liquid crystal? We are really actually very familiar with this because the reason I can be here and see your beautiful face and have this conversation online via video is because our screens have this liquid crystalline film on them. It all the molecules are aligned in a certain organization. And when an electrical impulse comes in, that organization of the molecule changes. And when it comes to video, like we're doing right now, the electrical impulse comes in, the molecules realign, different amounts of light are allowed in, and we have these beautiful pictures that we can see. In the body, we have structures that act the same way. The molecules are aligned in an organized fashion. And when there is a wave of information that comes in, it is translated into measurable biological action. And we see that on our cell membranes, we see that in our fascia, we see that in our DNA. And all of these are lined with this liquid crystalline water that we just talked about. And the water almost acts as an amplifier to amplify the energy and information that is coming into the body and how we use that information for biological action. I mean, going back to the mitochondria, you know, we kind of learn in primary school, okay, those are the powerhouses of the cell. There's the electron transport chain. It has four protein complexes, and the last fifth complex pulls down a proton and makes ATP, our cellular energy. We don't learn that those proteins are lined in this liquid crystalline water, that liquid crystalline water can capture the light in our environment, like the infrared energy when we go outside, and
And
it makes
that's
that process.
and that's for good or for bad, right? Depending on the type of light exposure.
Absolutely. So I'm
Mm.
talking about the last two complexes with red and infrared light. We could talk about the first two and how blue light and the modern LED lighting in a lot of our homes and office spaces and commercial spaces inundates that electron transport chain of the mitochondria and decreases the production of ATP. And, there's been research out there associating high blue light environments with metabolic issues, with irritability, depression. And I just sort of think about our modern workplace, right? We're just sort of setting ourselves up for this. And this is a fairly recent change, that change in lighting to LED lighting away from incandescent bulbs that do have that red and infrared spectrum in them. So you're absolutely right. It's depends on the light for what the effect is going to be. Mhm.
And in the body, are the signals like how many different parts of our tissue? Is it just the cells with this extra layer? Are our joints, fascia, muscles, is everything receiving signals differently? And are there things to be aware of there that we like, oh, that's been hurting or that's been really tight for ages? There's actually a quantum biology explanation for that.
Yeah, great question. I love to kind of summarize it by saying that there's a way to look at the body. Again, we're so used to looking at this chemical mechanical issues. And yes, that does exist. We can have chemical deficiencies or imbalances or mechanical misalignments that lead to pain and inflammation. But a lot of people don't realize that pain, inflammation, symptoms, disease states can also be associated with a decrease in electrical charge. And we're not looking at that in modern healthcare environments, in the doctor's offices. And we need to be, because it's a critical component of how our body works. And, the reason why these red and infrared light devices are working so well in those conditions of pain or wound healing or muscle healing is because they are increasing the cellular energy, the electrical state of that cell, so it can function better, so it can repair faster, so the pain can decrease. There's just a direct correlation where we can say pain, inflammation, disease states, that's a loss of electrical charge, or we could say a deficiency in electrons. And that's exactly what we're looking at from a quantum biology perspective.
So, does a tight muscle that, like, I think of like last year, I did a lot of strength work and I didn't keep up with my mobility,
Mhm.
stretching, that kind of stuff. And I got a tightness like all the way through one leg. And I was like, I think it's the deadlifts. I think it's actually just lifting too heavy without a counterbalance. Um, when tissues are tight and not worked through movement in healthy, complementary ways, does this disturb the ability for light to get in places as well? If you are lucky enough to live in Sydney and surrounds, Newcastle, Central Coast, Blue Mountains and Wollongong here in New South Wales, then Zestiny Farm, a lush oasis on the New South Wales Central Coast, is a podcast partner this month. From mid-Feb to the end of March, you have 50% off any of their fruit and veg mix subscription boxes. You can try the compact size, which is the smallest one, the classic, or the bounty, which is the one my family gets every week. 50% off that first box. You are not locked into any contracts or anything. You are just free to try and jump on this subscription. They're blending Mediterranean techniques with regenerative practices and modern innovation, and they're cultivating something really special. I have the great pleasure of having known the founders of this farm many years through previous businesses that they've had. That they have big goals. The bigger picture of what they're trying to achieve is truly inspiring. So I was absolutely stoked to take my weekly delivery to you guys. You will notice it's not all perfect looking produce. You will notice though, the flavour is big. Enjoy Zestiny Farm. I can't wait to hear what you think.
Oh, this is a great question
Oh,
because
great.
it takes us
You might be
it
helping me here, Doc. I'm excited. Yeah.
well, it takes us right into fascia, right? Fascia
Mm.
is this body-wide web of connective tissue, mostly collagen, and it is lined with this liquid crystalline water. And that back to hydration, we talked about several different things we could do to hydrate. We didn't talk about how movement is actually hydrating, right? So the repetitive movement that we're doing with deadlifts or isolated muscle weightlifting exercises, that correlation you made there between doing the strength training but not doing the mobility is talking about how movement actually pulls hydration into the system. And how does it do that? Well, this fascia, this fascial system in the body, it connects to every single structure in the body. And definitely the muscles as well. And when we move, there are fascial cells called fasciocytes. When we move, it stimulates the release of hyaluronic acid. And hyaluronic acid, when you look at one molecule of hyaluronic acid, again, the water molecule is so small. So when we look at one molecule of hyaluronic acid, it is completely covered in this liquid crystal water. We call it a full hydration shell. And researchers have even found that it's the last research study I read about it, it was 1,600 molecules of water surrounding one molecule of hyaluronic acid. So when we move, yeah, incredible. So
Yeah.
when we move, it tells the fasciocytes in our fascia to release hyaluronic acid, which is completely covered in this specialized hydration, bringing hydration into that area. So movement is also another way to hydrate, which is another way to address that stiffness, that adhesed feeling, that painful feeling that you're talking about.
And a different kind, different uh, results in that hydration. Like for example, does strength building, which kind of can contribute to tightness if you're not stretching and fascia rolling, um, is it kind of like the water and the electricity where we actually need both kinds of movement for the hydration recipe to work?
Yeah,
Okay.
absolutely. And I
Yeah.
think really we're talking about functional movements, right? So
Mm.
um, I love to lift weights. I love my deadlifts, but
Me
I
too.
also, yeah, we need to have strength, but we also need function, right? All the fascial lines are in rotation, right? So you
Mm.
see some of the latest sort of exercise trends out there where you're using like a kettle ball or you're using rotational weightlifting and or resistance training. And that's really getting to these functional movements.
Yeah.
Some of my favorite fascial instructors, you'll see online fascial maneuvers and people doing this and that to move the fascia. But I love the work. Oh, and I wish I could remember her name, her
It's
last
okay.
name.
We can pop it in the show notes.
Yeah,
Who,
Mia.
what do they like? What do they share that you love?
I love that she's using really gentle movements. She's using shaking. She's
Mm,
using really natural, functional movements. So it's not like, okay, everybody do this, everybody do that. It's find out where you feel a little stuck and gently move into that area, breathe into that area. And so I think, yes, we want that strength. Yes, we want that isolated strength, but we also want that functional movement. Because what good is it if we're strong, but we can't get up off the floor or we can't
yeah,
move? And that's
totally.
actually something we see with bodybuilders, right?
Mhm.
And so we want both.
Yeah, good advice. I really noticed it in myself. I was like, oh, I'm doing way too much of one type. Not a good
Yeah,
idea.
yeah.
Okay, so where do we go from understanding what feels like pretty complex messaging at the fascial and then in through to the cellular level and start thinking about our days with some of the things that usually challenge people, like where's the part where we go, I now know enough to know this is essential right down to the health of my cells, but I'm busy, but it's midlife, but I've got this stuff going on. Like, do we know how much is the minimum viable?
That is a common question, right?
Mm.
Especially when I start talking about light and getting morning light.
Yeah,
How
I just
much
want people to feel
light?
like they can get some runs on the board and it doesn't have to be this huge extra thing that we're going to add and
Yeah,
freak out about trying to, build our to-do lists.
yeah. Well, I
Mm,
would first of all say that any amount helps.
mm,
So if you have a minute, that helps. If you can't go outside and you crack a window, I have lots of patients that, especially here in the Pacific Northwest, for many, many months out of the year, the sun isn't up when they wake up. It's rising on the way to work. So I tell them to crack the window, turn up the heat and crack the window. Let that light in. There are little things we can do that have an enormous impact on our system, especially as we move into perimenopause and menopause. We become much more sensitive to the light in our environment. So, lowering the lights at night, that's something that's, looks like literally flicking a switch, right? I've
yeah.
got lots of salt lamps in my home and I have incandescent bulbs, again, that have that infrared, that red and infrared light. So I can cook dinner, we can eat, and then we lower the lights. My kids know. I say, can you turn off the lights? They know what lights I'm talking about. Talking about those bright overhead lights. Let's move to the warmer tones. It's so soothing on the nervous system. It makes sure that we are able, yeah, that we're able to secrete melatonin, get a good restorative deep sleep. It's so important for our hormones, our metabolism, our immune system, our mood. So these things can be simple. It just sort of takes an awareness of the importance of it. And it's not black or white. It's not do everything all at once all the time. Small steps have an enormous benefit.
Yeah. I love what physical therapist Dr. Wendy Chorney says, oatmeal's better than no meal. Like just do something. It doesn't
Yeah,
matter. Don't freak out about what it is. Just do it. It's
yeah,
going to be better than nothing. And
yeah,
I think we need a lot more of that because the internet can kind of scare people into perfection, can't it? And then you're paralyzed and you think, oh, well, I'd never be able to do it that way, or I'd never be able to afford that $1,000 red light panel. So I guess this isn't for me. And it's like, no,
yeah,
there's
yeah.
so much more. Mm,
Absolutely. Well, and even that perfection works
mm.
against health, right?
Yeah,
That's
yeah.
strangles the nervous system right there. So it's
Mm,
really, I really talk to people about cultivating a relationship. Cultivate a relationship with light, with water, with nature, with sound. little steps are fine. You know, those good friends that you have that if you forget to call them, they're still there. It's okay. You can pick up the
Yeah.
phone when you have time and call them. It's the same thing. Those relationships are there whenever we have time to access them. And when we do, the benefits are going to be felt.
Mm, beautiful. And you mentioned kids.
Mm.
How do you go as a parent with kids and those sorts of habits? Are they in pushback mode yet? I can't remember. I don't think they're quite teenagers yet from memory. Maybe the oldest one is.
Yeah, the oldest one is, and the preteen is
Mm. How's that
rapidly.
going?
It's actually going pretty well. My kids, the oldest, does a lot of editing. Like I do a wellness summit each year, and he edits the videos. So he
Good
hears,
job.
yeah, well, I pay him.
But it's also a very nice subliminal way to get the information in
It
by not
is.
the annoying parent, but a whole bunch of
Yes.
other people. Mm.
Yes, yes. And then also try at key times, like in our house, we call it screened out, where you've been on screens too long, that dopamine crash, you don't feel good, you haven't been outside. And when they feel that way, I can't help but say, well, I don't know. It could be that you've been on screens too long, and I've been doing that for years, and now they recognize it. They go outside to rectify that feeling. And I think laying the foundation, laying the habits down are really important. And at the same time, we're all individuals. So allowing the late nights, the too much screen time, not having it be 100% my way or nothing. And it really has been an incredible lesson too. Like nobody feels good when they stay up late. Nobody feels good when they are on screens for hours and hours. So then I get to allow them to do that and then, you know, insert gentle comments about how, well, this might be because, So,
3 hours on a screen.
yeah, 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 definitely. And the lights at night, I think that was one of the easiest transitions because it's so delightful.
It's so
Um,
lovely. I mean, my
it
son
is.
even recognized that he's nearly 17 now, and
Yeah,
he can feel because he has to be on the computer, obviously, doing a lot of research and assignments and things now.
yeah,
Just even counterbalancing that with a blue light free night light so that his side light is warm and mellow. And, we have the F lux on the screen. So it's like a layer of reduction of blue light. He can feel
yeah,
the difference. He can actually study more in a shorter amount of time and therefore get more sleep. But
yeah,
it does, I think with kids, my message is the same. It's just like make interesting remarks and suggestions in a not so strict way. And you can sometimes just end up having them arrive at the realization,
yeah,
um, letting them think it was their idea. That's when you know it's gold because it's come
yeah.
from them. Yeah.
Absolutely, absolutely. And then leading too,
Mm.
for there were quite a few years there where the lights didn't go off and I would say, you guys have to turn the lights off. You're making me go through menopause, kind of like making it a joke and putting it on me, you guys are
Yeah,
taking
yeah.
care of me here. So,
Hmm.
yeah, just maintaining the relationship with them is
Mm.
most important. So if that
Yeah, I
means,
agree. I love a good
yeah,
menopause joke. Mm. It's like, I don't have enough estrogen for that.
yeah, yeah,
But then that's teaching our kids and not like trying to go through it alone, like have family
yeah,
meetings, tell them what you're going through. I always say that with women who are in the midlife transition, like no one's telepathic. All they're going to see is grumpy mum and
yeah,
think, what, she's always just so grumpy. Like
yeah,
talk about your biology and they
yeah,
might have some compassion.
yeah.
Mm,
Well, and yeah, I think teenagers have a special place in their heart for that grumpy,
I think so.
irritated feel like they
I
can
think
relate.
so too. Yeah. It's kind of nice. A lot of people say it's, oh my gosh, what hell have we been put through to have perimenopause, menopause, and teenagers in the same juncture, like parallel juncture. But I quite like it because you kind of sympathize with each other. We've
Yeah,
found out, oh my God, the hormones, like it's actually quite nice to be able to say,
yeah,
I totally feel you.
yeah,
Mm,
absolutely, absolutely. And the way
mm,
we've been working in this house is, we're not perfect. So when we make
mm.
mistakes, we say sorry. And they've learned that, and they also reflect that. They get cranky, walk away, come back and say, sorry about that.
Yeah,
Like I
that was
was
a bit
a
much.
little
Yeah.
cranky. And
And
it's,
so you mentioned leading there. You know, it's important for us to lead. What does a day in your family weekend life look like that is actually building these beautiful um, benefits of quantum biology for your next generation at home?
Mhm. Well, you know, almost daily. It's rare to have a day go by where I don't wake up first. I'm outside. They see me come in. I am outside getting that sun in my eyes. I'm doing a little lymphatic exercise. I'm grounding. I'm just setting up my day. So they see that. We all start our day with some hydration. We um, we also start our day with we start and end our day with connection and gratitude. I'm always saying at night, like, I'm just blessed to be your mom. I love you guys so much. And we echo that in the morning, and it just kind of sets the tone for the day and just the relationship, putting the relationship first. Because I think from a quantum biology perspective, people say, well, what do you think is most important, hydration or light or da da? And I think coherence, our connection, our internal coherence. And one of the main factors of that is this sense of gratitude, right? So I start my day before I even get out of bed, before I wake up and open my eyes, I take stock of what I'm grateful for. And they are a part of that relationship, and they are brought into that understanding of what it means to be in a coherent relationship and what it means to be connected, and that's the safe harbor, whatever happens in the day. And so, you know, starting the day with light, starting it with hydration, but starting it with connection, and ending it with that lowering of the light and with connection. We love to get outside together. Most of us, my youngest sometimes is like, "Ugh," but she always enjoys it after it's been
Yeah,
done.
yeah,
Um, and so getting outside, and I should say that she's outside roller skating all the time, you know, but hikes, sometimes she's like, oh, can't we just roller skate? Which is fair, right? We all have our
yeah, yeah.
different ways
That's
of,
how she likes to move. Yeah.
yeah, exactly. So I
Mm.
think just getting the basics, hydration, light, connection, movement, a relationship with nature. We're fortunate enough to live sort of in the woods. So when my daughter is skating around the house, she's skating by all these trees
Yeah,
overlooking a
it's
valley. I mean,
beautiful. I
she's
love your Instagram. Feels like I'm on holidays.
I am so grateful. That's one of the things I'm grateful for every morning when I wake
Yeah,
up, right?
yeah.
My people, my place, um, all my health, all of those things. So I think those are really the core, as busy as it gets, right? Every day is
Mm.
different. I homeschool my kids. So there's always lots happening, but those are really the core pillars that we stick to: hydration, light, movement, and connection. Yeah.
And So you've said hydration a couple of times there in your daily routine. And I know from what we talked about with hydration, that's obviously now about a marriage between light and water. What does the water part of hydration look like for you guys? Do you have electrolytes in the house? Do you look as a naturopathic doctor and now someone who understands hydration at such a deep level? Do you look for a particular mix if you were to bring electrolytes in? Curious.
Yeah, absolutely. So we start with some mineralized water. We
Hmm.
also have some hydrogen. We have like a sink hydrogen water unit. So first thing in the morning, we're getting some hydrogen water. I actually worked with a homeopathic company to create a mineral product that we add to our water. It's got trace minerals in it from seawater. It's got some fulvic acid in it. And, but just a blend, a nice blend of trace minerals, electrolytes to build that ability for that water to get intercellular is really important. So that's what we do and what I look for.
So not going for any of the big, like super trendy, super high sodium, super fake flavors stuff in the water.
No, not on a regular basis.
Mm,
Now, every year um, we go to the desert. I have work there every year. It's much hotter.
mm,
It's so much drier than it is where we're at. So yeah, we'll bring electrolytes there when we are exercising. We go to a summer festival each year, and it's hot and sweaty. You're sweating a lot. That's the time that I pick those electrolyte mixes. But in everyday space. And I use a sauna, I exercise, I sweat, but those times are profuse, right? So
yeah,
on a regular sense, I don't use those electrolyte mixes unless I need them,
yeah,
and then they
that's
can
a
be
really great
absolutely wonderful.
distinction. Yeah,
Yeah,
absolutely. I agree.
yeah.
Okay, well, I just feel like we've covered some super important, really helpful, both super nerdy, but extremely practical things over this beautiful hour. So I just want to say a huge thank you. I hope your book flies off the shelves. I think it's really such a powerful topic because these things are so accessible to us all every day. It makes health feel more accessible than ever. That's what you do, and we love you for it. So thanks for joining me.
Oh, thank you so much for having me. I love what you do, and it's just been a pleasure talking with you today.
Thanks, Catherine. Thank you for joining us in listening to this week's show. If you're not already subscribed or following the show on whatever platform you listened, please do that now. It helps enormously in terms of getting this show out to more people. Another way you can connect and support the work we do so that we can support you in your low tox life is join us in the Low Tox Club. You'll get access to amazing member masterclasses where we invite some of our best show guests for a live Q&A with members. You also have great shopping discounts from low tox businesses and honestly, the nicest low tox community Facebook group that exists on the internet. I do hope you join us there. It costs just the price of a coffee a month on average. Head to lowtoxlife.com, hit the Explore tab, and Low Tox Club is the first option there. Thank you so much for listening, and we'll see you next week.